The Walking Dead is a show that begins on a horrific image, that being a little girl walker picking up a teddy bear and Rick being forced to put said walker down. The show is littered with these horrific images, these glimpses of what's happened to folks in the apocalypse. And in today's episode of Deleted Scenes, we are going to be talking about one of these horrific images. But before we do that, we must give some context as always. Season 3, Episode 13, Arrow on the Doorpost, is a pretty decent episode in my opinion. I think at the time I wasn't too keen on it, but looking back, I don't mind it. Basically, the episode is Rick and the governor discussing terms, but the governor is not willing to cede any ground to Rick and his people. It's a necessary episode for sure, as this is actually the first time Rick and the governor meet. The governor ends up striking a deal with Rick. He'll leave them alone if Rick hands over Michonne. But then we find out the governor's lying, he's just going to kill them all anyway. So that's the A plot. Now let's talk about the B plots. We have Glenn and Merle clashing in the prison, but then the other B plot has to do with the other people who have come to this meeting. We have Andrea, we have Daryl, we have Herschel, Milton, and Martinez. Herschel and Milton bond by themselves, but Daryl and Martinez, the two henchmen so to speak, they have this quirky little back and forth. And after hearing a noise, that noise being walkers, Daryl and Martinez, along with Andrea too, sort of have a dick measuring contest where they see who can kill the walkers the coolest. Okay, so episode 13 is called Arrow on the Doorpost, right? Well, yes, it is. However, the episode originally was called Pale Horse. After the mid-season finale of season 3, the season went on a temporary hiatus, as we've all come to expect now. And during that break, they released the names of all the episodes to come. And you'll notice here, they all correlate to what released apart from Pale Horse. We never saw an episode called Pale Horse. Well, yeah, that was Arrow at the Doorpost. So how come? Why did they change the episode title of all things? Well, it all has to do with the deleted scene we're going to be talking about. I have to butter you up, so just please indulge me. Now, before people complain at me, no, this deleted scene was never released. On the Blu-ray, on the DVD, and behind the scenes, there's no way we can actually view this deleted scene in video form at least. However, we do have some pictures. Now, why would AMC release promotional images including scenes that aren't even in the episode? I don't really know, but they do this a lot actually. It happened a fair few times throughout the run of the show, so don't ask me. So what is the deleted scene? Well, at some point in the episode, Daryl went and found a Headless Horseman. Yes, you're hearing that right. So let's go through the images and try and piece together the scene. Also, I'm only going to be featuring and talking about the images that relate to scenes that definitely are not in the episode. Here we have Andrea stood looking slightly worried perhaps near some hay bales. Now you might be thinking this is a nothing burger picture, why am I talking about it? It will become slightly relevant later. But we do see Andrea slouched and worried throughout the episode, but as you can tell from the clips that are playing now, there are no hay bales in the background. This one is just of Daryl leaning against this structure I guess. And I'm confident that this is the same structure here in the background, but obviously in this image Daryl's stood up and it's a wider angle. Back to this one briefly, have a look at this. So same area, but now he's on the other side and he's looking through and he sees this horse. The horse is a white, pale horse, but it's also quite bloodied. Now he's at the other side of the plank in this image and he's petting the horse. And then here we get the best shot of all. So you can see Daryl petting the horse, but also on the horse's back is the headless man, the headless rider. And that's the deleted scene really. Daryl would have found a headless horseman atop a white pale horse. And if you didn't guess, this is quite clearly a reference to Judgment Day. Death is said to ride a white pale horse. Daryl finding this hints at the upcoming deaths he will experience. One big one I can think of that happens 2 episodes later is Merle, and it happens in this exact same location. Ominous foreshadowing for sure, and it explains why the episode's called Pale Horse, if you didn't catch on already. That's all I have to say really about the deleted scene itself, but let's now try to figure out where this would have taken place in the episode. Now I have 2 theories for it, but I'm now leaning towards the second theory, but let's talk about the first theory first. The scene where Daryl and Martinez have their dick measuring contest. I think it's possible that after that scene takes place, Daryl wanders off and finds the horse. The evidence for the scene taking place around about here in the episode is that picture of Andrea. If you remember, take a look, she's behind some hay bales. Sort of similar to the area where the horse is, although I don't see any hay bales explicitly, it just kind of gives that feel, if that makes sense. Now this would make sense as Martinez would probably be on edge if Daryl's just kind of wandering about the place, and I could see Andrea being the one to say that she'll get him back, and then she sees the Headless Horseman just like Daryl and is shocked, and that's why she's looking so shocked in the image. That's option 1. Option 2 is actually at the start of the episode. So at the start, Rick, Herschel and Daryl all show up at the location, and Rick and Daryl begin to sweep it. Eventually they find a walker that's been put down, and I just want to play out this clip here. So Rick figures the governor's inside this building, so Daryl flanks round the back, and the next time we see Daryl is, well, he's spying on Rick and the governor.
Sure that I mean to negotiate in good faith. I'd like you to do the same.
Rick and the governor get speaking, and Daryl then returns to Herschel. Let me play it out for you.
He's already in there.
I don't see any cars.
I don't feel right.
So this theory proposes that the scene takes place in between Daryl spying on Rick and the governor's little date and him reuniting with Herschel there. Because surely he would have swept the rest of the compound, right? And that would reinforce the feeling he has that it just doesn't feel right. And if you didn't see it already, the part where Daryl walks up to Herschel, you can see hay bales, similar to the one where Andrea is. The problem with it being here is Andrea doesn't show up until a few moments later, so it wouldn't explain that picture with her at the hay bales, but maybe that's something completely unrelated to the deleted scene. Those are my 2 theories though. Let me know which one you think it was. Either it happened before Andrea, Milton and Martinez showed up, or it happened after Daryl and Martinez had their little dick measuring contest. Let me know down in the comments below which theory you more subscribe to, or if you've got an alternative, please let me know that too. Before we go, let's just talk about the deleted scene again. So here's the image. You can see Headless Rider, white horse. So we've talked about the implications of it for foreshadowing to Merle's death and to the wars to come, but who was this guy supposed to be? And how did he lose his head? So there's a couple theories here. It could just be that he lost his head to razor wire. This poor guy was strapped into the saddle, riding on his horse, and he didn't happen to notice some razor wire, so his head was taken clean off, and the horse continued to ride with his body still attached. Meaning he's completely unrelated to the governor or to the prison. The other theory is that this guy is someone who crossed the governor in some way, shape or form, and as a warning sign to Daryl and Rick to what he's capable of, he staged the white horse with the man atop it so they could see. This does align with the governor's MO, chopping off heads, But I don't know about that. This was meant to be the two leaders talking it out. And the governor is trying to put on a show to Rick. He is trying to manipulate him. He's trying to make Rick believe that all he really wants is Michonne when he does want far more. So I don't know why the governor would try and jeopardize that by adding like this ominous sign. It doesn't make sense. Because of this, I believe this is just some random dude who lost his head and his horse happened to show up here. And its purpose in the story is simply just foreshadowing and a very on-the-nose metaphor. Why was it cut from the episode? I think this one is pretty obvious, so I'm not going to go too into detail, but it doesn't add anything to the episode for a start. And also, it's just very distracting for what was happening with Rick and the governor. You have that intense showdown, and then on the lighter side, you have Herschel and Milton joking about, and Daryl and Martinez joking about, both in different ways. Adding this ominous Headless Horseman and creating an entire new mystery would have just distracted from the episode itself. And when they deleted this scene, that meant the title no longer made sense, so they had to change it. But is it just me? I've always thought Arrow on the Doorpost is kind of a weird title. Thank you to all channel members. We got Baddie, Just Jordan, August Fisher, Austin Mann, Jesus, Logan Keeley, Charles, Gamer J, Tyler B, Gnostics212, Carl Grimes is my man, True Paranormal, Stray Owl Christ the YouTube TV show, Corey, Papillion, David Mulligan, Skullskills777, and Ralph Farhar. And a huge, massive shout out to these Walker slaying legends. We've got Whatever Comes to Mind, Z-Fungi148, Turbo Class G, Red Lemon Cola, Codacol, Jenny Perez, Dog Sauce, Pigossi, Whiskey Star, and Brent Turnbow. Cheers.
To you. Aye. You first.
I mean, it's ridiculous.